Welcome everybody. And I am very happy to introduce this masterclass dedicated to the project Talking Pictures with a focus with Ukrainian contemporary visual book in cooperation with BolognaBookPlus. Hamelin is a project with the cooperation with Steven Guarnaccia and Book Arsenal Festival of Kiev. And I would like to ask you if you there are many Italian attendants, and do you want an Italian translation, or if you're okay for everybody, we can go in English. It's okay English for everybody? Okay, perfect. So, Steven?
We have two mics.
Nice.
Thank you all for coming. You can hear us okay? Great. So my name is Steven Guarnaccia, and besides being an author-illustrator, I collaborate with Hamelin, Cultural Association here in Bologna, made up of Ilaria Tontardini, Emilio Varà, and Giordana Piccinini, among a very dedicated staff of many of the events that you are enjoying here at the fair are due to the excellent work of Hamelin. And together we have formed something called Talking Pictures. Talking Pictures because we feel like words are powerful, images are powerful, but the combination of words and images are even more powerful. And because we want to celebrate the state of the visual book in the culture, and in all cultures. Though the book fair, of course, is historically dedicated to children's books, Talking Pictures collaborates at the fair with something called BolognaBookPlus. This is a new effort to extend the fair's purview beyond the children's books. So one of the things that Talking Pictures is focusing on, even though I work principally in the realm of kids' books, Hamelin specializes in children's books and comics, we wanted to celebrate the visual book, in particular visual books for an adult audience. And we wanted to focus on what we imagined would be a very interesting theme this year, an interesting country, an interesting area of production, and one that we really knew very little about except what we read every day in the news. And that was the book production, the visual book production in Ukraine. And none of us in Talking Pictures could really imagine what it is like to make a book in a time of war. And we invited Book Arsenal, Oksana, who work with visual book competitions and also celebrate the visual book, in sending a call, a general call in Ukraine for publishers and large and small individuals to send us books to look at, consider, and then we assembled a jury that was Hamelin and myself, Talking Pictures, and Neil Packer from Great Britain, to look at the books and award a prize and select what we thought were the most interesting books in the selection. I believe we finally had about 80 books. No, about 80 books that were. Yeah. And these books arrived overland, and we met, and we were astonished by what we saw. Is this a good time for you, or should I just say one or two more sentences?
You could say.
I'll bring it just to a coda. So we had, if any of you have been on juries, you know you have some tables, you have some books, and really this was one of the most extraordinary jurying experiences I've ever had, because the richness, the wealth of extraordinary books was something really unexpected. We knew that creative people, especially in times of struggle, rise to the occasion. What we didn't realize, and this is something we'll talk about, was we knew it must be very difficult just to get a book printed during a war. I don't know what percentage of the books out on those floors are printed in places like China, for instance, but we knew that this was not an option for the people who submitted the books here. And the level of commitment, the level of quality on in every way, creative quality, the kinds of themes that were grappled with, the highest production values, was very, very heartening. It underlined again that the book is something that lives beyond a cultural moment or an historical moment. We also found it heartening that amongst all the extraordinary books, there were also some ordinary books, some books that were the kind of books that one would expect to see in peacetime. And that was really, they weren't necessarily the most extraordinary visual books we'd seen, but that the books that you might expect to see every day were also being produced during this extraordinary historical moment. Thank you.
Just one, I would love to add two things. One is that you could see those books because they are exhibited in the space of BolognaBookPlus, so at the entrance of the old 29. So you can really have a glance on this production, and you can touch it. And it's really important to have them in your hands. It's changed completely. We did an exchange before the book arrived via PDF, and it doesn't work because you really have to have them in your hands. And the other thing that we are really grateful of is the fact that we have a lot of assumption about what could it be. So you think things about a place, but and you have a lot of questions, and it's really a privilege and an honor to have people that could really embody what is happening, but at the same time artists that want to use their art, that do books, and that could really help us to have a different perspective, because it's really important for us to have the occasion of seeing things like they really are, and not thinking about as it was when we were looking at PDF. We were thinking, but then we realized that things when are real in a good sense, and of course in the negative one.
I just want to say one other thing. Underline the fact that books are objects, they are things in the world, but also that, and I don't think we said this yet, that the books that were submitted came from a very tight time period. We only looked at books from 2021 to today. So they were really books that were being either conceptualized or produced right in the heat of this moment.
So let's give voice to the people that has to speak, not me and Steven. We have 2 guests and 4 guests, because we have 2 collective, 2 group, or 2 studios. One we already know before this award, because they are well known here for their children's book, and it's a Graphica studio. I will say sorry for the pronunciation of the name, so you will help us. So Romana Romanishin and Andriy Leziv. more or less, from Lviv. And they are Bologna Ragazzi Award winners, so every one of us see loud, softly, and in a whisper, and the other one that is I See That. And there were two books that when they won the award on non-fiction, and I remember perfectly when we saw them. And last year we did a great work with the University of Bologna with Giorgia Grilli on non-fiction book. And I remember that when we saw them, we say, wow, that's a really different way of doing non-fiction. And it was so inspiring, I think, for a lot of artists that started to do that after. And we didn't know at the time that you also have a production as graphic designer that was completely different in a way that was applied to the adults and not to kids. And that was so astonishing. You will see in the selection some of their books where they are illustrators and also graphic designers, so you can really see all the work. And this award was a very good occasion to discover the work of serigraph. So Anya Ivanenko and Genia Polozhina. And that are, for us, that's really interesting because they are more they are in children's book, they are in graphic design, but they are also very involved in self-printing. So another area of, another way of working with images and printing that demand other skills, other idea, other groups of people that maybe gather and gives idea and inputs to the children's creation, but also to the adult one. And we discovered the work with this book that is called Blackout, that you can see in the selection. That is, as the title said, about a blackout, and I will let them speak about that. And it's interesting because we have a different way of narrating, so illustration, graphic design, but also comics. And so for us in Talking Picture was really important to have the idea that visual book is made by images and by words, and the idea of having illustration, comics, and text was really important. So thank you for that. And I don't know, want to speak first? Maybe, I don't know. Agrafka, I will put your presentation, so I will let you maybe go through it.
Thank you very much. Yes, actually, we are working with children's book for past almost 15 years, but also with books for adults, and we really love to work with books for adults, especially to illustrating really well-known, for example, poems, novels, or modern poetry. And today we would like to show you 3 of our projects. One, the first, which will be shown the first, it's actually not from the recent years, but was created a few years ago, but already when the war started in Ukraine after 2014. And the second and third, the books were created after a full-scale invasion in 2022 and 2024, because the last book is really fresh, and we will show them for the first time.
We also should mention that the war really shaped us as artists and had a huge impact on how we perceive visual narrative, and also how we perceive colors and how we pick the topics we working on. And most of them are related to war or to the history of our country. So Farewell to Arms is the book published in Ukraine. It's the very well-known novel of Ernest Hemingway. This is the series of books of Ernest Hemingway, and I also should tell that illustrated books for adults are extremely popular in Ukraine. They are on the great demand, and we were very happy that our publisher proposed to illustrate this book, particular book to us. This is the book about First World War, and we were very surprised that everything we felt this text like it was written right now. All the emotions, or everything, you can feel it like it was right now. The big part of our work is the research for the book. We had to get to know the biography of the author, of the Hemingway. We also made the research about the photos and, for example, his personal belongings. And we were browsing through all these materials, and we picked that, okay, for this book, we want not the personage to talk, but these personal belongings which can tell the story of this book. Next, we, of course, had these research in the of posters, of visual narrative of that era, how they pick the scales, how they pick the colors. We worked a lot with different materials in this book. For example, with stencils, we made these typography compositions with quotes from the book. And the key quote of this book was Hemingway told that the world breaks everyone, and the people who are not broken, they just vanish. So we decided that this breaking is what we have to work on in this book, because this middle of the book is literally the place where the book is breaking. And we decided that we have to use this in our composition. So you see here this transformation of things before war or after war. The transformation of lives, transformation of our everyday use objects. We use very limited colors like khaki and dark green. We also use these water. We demolished our illustrations with water because there is a lot of humidity in the text, a lot of blood, sweat, and a lot of rain. It's like 22 or something illustrations for this book. The next one is the Moscoviat. It's also the series, the totally new series of books for adults with modern Ukrainian classics. The Moscoviat, Yuri Andrukhovich, he is like now living classic. Moscoviada, it's like a reference to Iliad, to the bizarre journey with challenges. But this particular novel is about Moscow right before the collapse of USSR. And we had to also get to know better the context. We were browsing and researching the photos of everyday life. A lot of shortages, a lot of fights of crowds. We see this frustration, aggression, and during some time we understood that we have these very infernal feelings about what we see and about what we read. So we thought, okay, I think we know one particular visual picture which depicts everything that we see. It's like a famous illustration of Botticelli to Divine Comedy, Dante's Divine Comedy. Also the story moves not horizontally but vertically because our main character, he's moving through the book from streets to the Kremlin bunker. So it's like his very bizarre journey. Now we see that our main character is like starting his travel to the underground, to the metro. Next we see these layers of this hell. which we zoom in and we overlap these bodies of martyrs and sinners with KGB operatives. We make this our own like mythology of this book. Next is also the Styx, which is underworld river, and we zooming out the composition. And next we see the map, the whole map of the Moscow's, yes, hell that we are depicting. Also, this series contains much more novels, which are nowadays classics. The next one is our latest work, which is now preparing to printing. It's called Defilade, which means the military parade. And we also made this research about how we perceive the parade in terms of visual narrative. We like this synchronization of movements, we like this multiplication of people. Once again, we make this research to understand better the military formation, how one soldier is multiplicated many times, and they form different types of shapes. Throughout the history, we see many pictures. For example, it was during World War I, when many soldiers were like standing in hundreds and thousands of soldiers forming these particular shapes. So we decided to use stamps for creating this book. We created a few dozens of stamps with one soldier or in different body positions, and we multiplied them, creating these different shapes. So you see here is like a silhouette of man, and once again we see this reference to the horse head. Or this is the first spread from the book, which depicts the shaping of soldier, because you are not born a soldier, you have to become one. Your life is devoted to some particular mission, to your fellow soldiers, so you have to become one. And throughout the book, we use these different shapes formed of bodies. It can be letters, it can be also some silhouettes, or we have these rhymes between parade and real life, like real price, or real war. We are zooming out also and zooming in the one body position. And in the end, this is the book of eternal war, which tells that one war finishes and the next one starts. So you can not avoid to be in the war epicenter. And this is like overlapping all the silhouettes from different eras, different warriors from different eras, just making this meshed up composition. Yeah, that's it. I hope we managed to.
Yeah. We don't have to run. May I ask you a question that maybe could be also a bridge to your presentation? I was curious looking at your work of two things. And one is, in the books we saw, in the selection of talking pictures, we saw, of course, a lot of things that are related to war, but also things that are relating to everyday life. So, and from the artistic point of view, I would like to ask you if you could get rid of a theme that is so imposing in your everyday life, or if you need to dig it. How do you feel with something that is so present, but is also so present in your work? So, and you did researches, so it means that you really decided to stay in a topic that is historical, but unluckily is so contemporary for you. So, is it a need? Is it something that you do and maybe you want to do other stuff? It's just to really understand from the creative point of view, how do you react to this input?
I think it's important to go in deeper, to go in, going behind this first layer of accepting, because you know this war is really visual. We see the news every day. We see the ton of visual materials, video footages, photos, and we, as artists, we really want to interpret those visual objects, and we want to put them through our imagination and through our thinking, way of thinking, and to, of course, to see the bigger picture. We have to look back. We have to look at the history, and to understand this. To see this from the distance, and that's why we now we are avoiding to make like really emotional projects about the war, because emotional it's also good, but to be really to make a really important work, you have to look at it from the distance. But because now we are living inside this war, we are staying in Ukraine, and we are witnessing these feelings, and this is also really important for us, because otherwise we wouldn't accept it, we wouldn't understand all these events, and we know that someday when the war will finish, we'll be able to think about it, to look back, and to see these years of war, and to think about it, and to say something about them, because we were witnessing them and we were living through them. But interpretation is really important.
Thank you. I will switch presentation. Maybe I will, maybe not. I will.
Okay, hi. I'm part of Studio Serigraph. We are Studio Serigraph. I'm Ivanenko and Zhenya Polosina. And as been said, we used to be a screen printing studio. We used to work a lot of with screen printing, other kind of printings. We've done print festival in Ukraine, Kyiv, before the COVID. But since the beginning of full-scale invasion, we totally stopped that practice. So you cannot call us printmakers anymore, I guess, because we switch our focus to comics, documentary comics, and now it is our main field of occupants. So yeah, we will talk a little bit about Blackout, the book that is part of Talking Pictures project. And it is actually a documentary comics about the period of time in Ukraine of autumn 2022 to spring 2023, which during which a lot of critical infrastructure in Ukraine were bombed. So all of the country were faced with blackouts. It is a period when you don't have any electricity. For some regions, it was only a few hours. For some regions, it was months. And we tried to documentate that experience for us, and not only for us, since this book first was published in English, because at that period it was very important to us to talk outside, to tell stories of Ukraine and Ukrainians that are currently suffering. And basically this is a book about blackout that was made during blackout and published during blackout, and this is a book about making this book about blackout during blackout.
Yeah, it's like a recursion thing. So the main plot line that we have in this book is actually us sitting in the corridor, because it is said that during the shelling you need to be either in the shelter or behind two walls, which is usually a corridor or a bathroom. So we usually go to the corridor and stay there during the shellings. And through the book you can see how we talk about actually shellings or making these particular books in chronological order that you can see in the corner of the page. But between these parts, between these corridor sittings, we picture some, not only our experience, but also some things that we know of, some interviews we held, some stories we took from our relatives, friends, some people we know, yeah.
Yeah, we tried to talk about different aspects of blackout and different not so obvious things that were under impact of lack of electricity. We tried to talk about nature, we tried to talk about people in different regions. Since we in Kyiv are pretty privileged, we were pretty privileged since the longest blackout we used to have, it was like 36 hours. But some regions, especially small villages, sit without any of electricity for weeks or months. If we are talking about near frontline cities. So we talked to people who live there, our relatives of our team, and also with different people who had different experience, for example, working with kids or having kids during blackouts and trying to navigate their life and schools during it.
Yeah, and as Zhenya said, it was published also during this period of time, and maybe we need to say that all our main big printing houses, they are in Kharkiv. And it is, the city is constantly bombed, constantly shelled every day now, and in 2022, into 2023. So we're like praying for these houses to stay put, to stay alive. And we took a trip to one of publishing house, to printing house, to talk to them how they managed to like print all these books during the lack of electricity, and it's astonishing. It's actually, I don't know.
Yeah, so yes, basically the book was printed during blackout, and the printing house had to work like 4 hours, then no electricity for 7 hours, then 2 hours of electricity, and they printed it, and then no electricity again. And this situation was common for most of printing house at the time, and still is an issue for printing house in Kharkiv. And for us, with blackout, it was important to engrave, to document this period, since that such many things are happening in Ukraine, such many tragedies, and when we face new one, it is completely normal to like forget the previous one. And when we faced with, for example, Kakhovka Dam explosion, when half of the Kherson region was underwater, nobody remembers blackout, because you need to process new big dramatic event. So it is very, very important what a lot of artists in Ukraine do right now to document this period, because in 5 years, 10 years, it will be very important to go back to these times. And it is something we are trying to do. Another our project, it is actually self-published book, small self-published book, which called Second Time Displaced Personals. And it is a book that we published by ourselves and distribute for free. and it is a stories of people who had to face the war with Russia twice. People of eastern part of Ukraine, of Crimea, who had to flee their homes in 2014, and then, for example, moved to Kharkiv, and then after that, in 2022, had to face the Russian aggression again in their home. And we collect their stories and talk to people who are twice displaced person, and trying to tell their stories and their perspective of people who live with this war for 10 years. Because it is Ukrainian and English also, because it is very known narrative about like full-scale invasion, 2022, when everything started. But a lot of people, we had 3 million inside the country. We had 3 million temporary displaced person in 2014 who had to flee the war, and 3 million people, yeah. And for them, it is ongoing conflict for 10 years. So for us, was very important to tell their stories, and as with these projects and Blackout, we chose to completely different visual approach because as separate illustrators, as illustrator duo, usually we work with a little bit different kind of illustration, but with documenting we choose to
We're trying to be more realistic and more literal with the words and with the pictures. This is like our choice we made.
So yeah, and yeah, right now we're still doing documentary drawings and working on like small comics that we will, we hope, place in one big story. And we try to do a lot of interviews right now because we told a lot of stories about ourselves, about our experience, like a lot of, and our experience is pretty privileged since we're in Kyiv. So now we try to collect stories. This is about us, but yeah, we now try to collect stories of people we know who had to go to, for example, had to go to serve in army to the actual war, yeah, or people who lives in regions that are near front line and tell their stories. So that is what we do now. Thank you.
Give to Steven.
Yeah, we 5 minutes. Yeah, we have a couple of minutes if anyone would like to ask. We have time for a couple of questions. Does anyone want to? No. Would any of you like to say any final words? Not final. Just for the moment, final words.
I think it's for us it's really important to have this ability to speak about our work and to show not only our books but also speak about people who creating books in Ukraine during the war, because right now, at this very already third year of full-scale invasion, the books are really on demand in Ukraine. People want to read, people want to buy books, and all those books which are produced, they are completely produced in Ukraine. They are created in Ukraine, they are written in Ukraine, and they printed in Ukraine. It's also really amazing and important. And distributed in Ukraine. And I think important to also for us to speak about it, that even during the war, the life is flourishing and culture is really important and on demand. And for us, it's really, really important to speak that we are, our feelings are like really sharpened right now. And everything is really like vivid colors. You know, we see world in vivid colors, not only black and white or gray.
And I also wanted to tell that we have so many new bookshops opened almost every month in different cities, not only in big cities, but also in small cities, because we don't have time to postpone something. That's why we all invest our time and money to make something which has worse, yes, so which helps. And we have such a great community of readers in different cities. That's why we are very lucky that our book market is now flourishing. And our authors, we lost many of them. Many of them are on the front line, so they have no ability to work actively, but we are waiting for them. And I hope we will prepare this very good base for them to publish new books in future.
One quick thing. I just wanted to add that I think this existential crisis, I don't know, existential threat, it like moves really rapidly moves your desire to establish your identity. And as a result, we have a big increasing demand of people talking about the culture and talking about the book. Particularly, I think it's existential for us, I think.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, since you said that there are a lot of bookshops that are new and people is reading more and more, is it also have you noticed also a changement toward images? Because I think we are talking about visual books, so books that are using illustration, graphic design, and visual to say things. So do you think that this urge that you said also changed the attitude towards images, or did you notice a different way of looking at them, since images are one topic?
I think that the strength of the image, it works very fast. It's much faster than words. And nowadays in our everyday life, we need everything very fast, fast information, and also the strength of the image. It doesn't need any translation. It doesn't need any additional time. You just see it, you enjoy it. Also, we see that, for example, the aesthetics of Ukrainian illustration is also changing. And the war has this big impulse to make bold things, just to make bold, very free-minded, very open, and very brave. And we see that despite all the problems, despite all the losses and terrible things that we are living through, we hope that Ukrainian art will develop and will say something new to the world, because we understand what is meaningful, and we try to find this new visual language, how to tell the world what we feel.
Those are, I think, wonderful words to close with. I think, yes, is it time for us to close?
Yes, but no one is pushing us. So if you have question.
You have another chance for questions. Barbara?
Thank you. I think one aspect of war that isn't possibly talked about in a lot of regular media is the way that an invading nation tries to appropriate the culture of the people they're attempting to monopolize, take over. And so robbing a nation of their cultural identity is a very effective way to cripple morale and to subjugate the people. So how do you feel that the work that you're doing is continuing to bolster the cultural identity of the children, of anybody reading your books in Ukraine? And I'm sorry I wasn't here I just came at the very end, but that's a question that I've been thinking about a lot while this whole thing has been going on.
If I understood correctly, the correlation between what we do and the identity, yes? Yes, we have this problem that, for example, Russians, they occupy the territories, and first what they do, they, of course, they kill activists, and they burn books, like in Bradbury book, you know, they have these piles of books which they like censorship, and they burn them. And of course, the first, what they understand it very well, that they have to erase our identity. That's why everything what all the Ukrainian artists, writers, musicians do, we develop, I think, even create our new identity, because we all would like to understand who we are. I think we are more strong than we thought we are. We are more intelligent. We are more open-minded. That's why, yes, it's very important to all Ukrainian people related to culture just actively work, because all we do, it's like one brick to this big new tower of our new identity.
And also, of course, as artists, we work really close with folk art, with naive art, and we adapt a lot of motifs from naive and from Ukrainian folk, from traditional art. We adapt a lot of motifs in our illustration and in our projects, and it's not only us. I think most of Ukrainian illustrators do it, and taking inspiration in national culture and taking inspiration in national art.
Anyone else?
I was really interested about your work in general, of all of you. Like, so you're working a lot on the war topic right now. Obviously, every Ukrainian illustrator does. But are you even able to work on some other topics, or like are you concentrated only on the war? Because I know it should be very, very tiring. I mean, like, you're in this news and you're also working with this topic all the time. So how is it going for you? Do you have other projects?
Yeah. So for us, for Serigraph Studio, for the first, I guess, year and a half, we were mostly focused on the war. Like 80% of our work was war-related, and 20% was for money. No one saw it. So yeah, but like in the last half of year, we a little bit switched our focus since we started to work on visual novel game, and it is about Kyiv. So for us, it's about our heritage, about learn the history of our city, and we do a lot of research about culture and history and other stuff about our hometown. But it is totally not war-related. It is fantastic fantasy game. And it is like our first project, not war-related. But for us, it is not how it works for a lot of illustrators in Ukraine, but for us, it's a totally coping mechanism to talk about war in our pictures. It helps us to proceed everything and to have this distance when, yeah.
One second. Just wanted to add that it is actually kind of a struggle for me personally. When I feel the need to draw about war, it is like it feels the most natural, the most needed, especially in the first year of the war, and now too. Now also, but in the same time, when I I feel I can draw not only about the war, and when I get some how you say it, commissions, not war related, I feel like I want to draw it, and I can take this project, but it is full of guilt for me, so it's a struggle.
I think we have to close here. I want to thank our artists for joining us, and just very inspiring words, really wonderful work. I want to thank all of you for staying to the bitter end. And I want to thank Ilaria. Yes, please come see the exhibition of the selected books in the BolognaBookPlus or BB Plus in Hall 29 near the entrance. Thank you.